my name is Stacy and I'm the Teen and Makerspace Librarian here at the Chandler Public Library. Right now I'm standing in our brand new Makery programming space, and I'm here to show you guys our brand new 3D printer and do a little bit of a demo today. So our 3D printer is called the Ultimaker S3. It is a newer model. There is a newer one that came out in 2020, but we bought ours just right towards the beginning of 2020, so we got the 2019 model. It is from Ultimaker. It's kind of one of those all-in-one 3D printers that can do almost anything. It's a high-volume printer, and you can print all day long if you feel like it, or for a short 10-minute print, or even just take an hour or so to make some Among Us men. But I today will be showing you how we would use a 3D printer and what we do with a 3D printer here at the library. So just a little background on 3D printing. Mainstream 3D printing as we know it today, where you could have a 3D printer either in your home or in a library, started in about 2008. 3D printing has advanced incredibly over the past 12 years to the point where we have a machine that can print all sorts of different materials, identify what materials you're inserting into it, and be able to run non-stop without any overheating or any issues of what you may or may not see, whether you're printing a candle holder or anything else. So we have examples here of different things that you can 3D print. These are all things that we've 3D printed here at this library on this machine, aside from this robotic hand. But it is possible to print things such as prosthetics. It's one of the many uses of 3D printing. Another use is that, let's say you have a 3D printer at your house and you don't have any forks that are clean and you need a fork. Well, you can print a fork on your 3D printer. It would be done in about 2 hours. So if you're cooking, when you start preheating the oven, it might be a good idea to start printing your fork also. But that's the idea of where 3D printing is heading. Here at the library, we teach 3D printing because there is a lot of different concepts that go along with 3D printing, such as 3D design. Instead of seeing circles, you want to think in spheres. And instead of a box or a square, you want to see cubes. And so just those ever so slight differences are things that we'll teach here at our library 3D printing courses. We will have 3D printing available at the library soon, so keep an eye out for it throughout 2021 to see when we have it available. So what we're going to demo today is actually these shark teeth. So this is a 3D print that I actually got that was readily available and was digitized by the Smithsonian Museum. What the Smithsonian has been working on is they've been digitizing a lot of the artifacts they own, and they've been creating these wonderful 3D models, which also they turned into the ability to 3D print them. So I was able to take this shark jaw and 3D print it here at the library. 3D printing is awesome because you have a lot of different things that are readily available online. Some of the things that I use are the 3D printing digitization that you'll see at the Smithsonian, Thingiverse, which is a kind of almost social media where you are able to upload any prints that you did were really cool, make changes to prints that other people have designed to make it easier on your printer, and also suggest tips on ways to do this CAD system where you're actually able to create your own 3D designs on it. And with those 3D designs, what you can do is you'll be able to create whatever it is you would like to create. It's a very, very simple product, and it's not at all what engineers or architects would be using, but it's a great way to start learning those concepts of 3D design, and if you enjoy it, you can start moving up in the different CAD systems you use until you get all the way up to something like AutoCAD, which architects and engineers use quite often. So today, I will be printing this shark jaw. What I did was I just downloaded the file from the Smithsonian, and I went ahead and I put it into Ultimaker Cura, which is what we use for our Ultimaker machine and the recommended slicing system for the Ultimakers. So I just kind of adjusted the size to make sure that it fit in our 3D printer. The file was quite large and probably like 3 times the size of our printer. So we had to adjust it down to be able to fit. And now that I've adjusted it down, it's currently at about 55%, so it was more than double the size of our printer. And I'm going to go ahead and hit slice. And I am seeing an unable to slice, looks like because it is still too large. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this down to just 50%. See if we can get that to work. And sometimes, especially with 3D printing, you do have to do a lot of tinkering. And sometimes you'll get errors that you're trying to figure out why. I just ran this print, so we know it will work, but every so often slight changes will make it so that it doesn't work exactly the way that you did last time. So you do have to do a lot of tinkering to figure out what is going on and how can you figure out how to fix this. Alright, and now that it's slicing, sometimes it might take a while. Depends on the size of your 3D print. If it's a very large print, it takes longer than your shorter prints. There's a lot of detail, it's also going to take a lot longer. Right now, I have it on some pretty fast settings, so my slicing was pretty quick, and this print is only going to take about 2 hours and 37 minutes as is. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that we get some supports on here. That way that when our print is laying like this flat on the bed, what will happen is these parts that are in the air are going to actually be supported. And so it's good to double check where you see different air pockets on your print inside the system, or even if you have a ready-made example, where you think you might need to have supports to make that work. The computer will also help you calculate that. So what I always do is I put my supports on and I just test to see how many supports it's telling me I need. So I generate the supports. I want my supports to touch the build plate because I don't want supports between all of these different teeth between each other, because that just makes it that much harder to remove. So, and then I want anything that's an overhang of over 60 degrees to be able to be supported. So what is going to happen is I'm going to go ahead and close out of the settings, slice it again. The uses of what you can do with 3D printing. So the question of why 3D printing is just whatever your imagination can bring to life. You can bring anything from the concept and the idea and the design straight into an actual object. At the Smithsonian, I would not be able to touch something like this. That would be a very, very large fossil that is probably may not even be on display, or if it is on display, there's no way I'd be able to touch it. But 3D printing technology has allowed us to be able to bring this literally into the hands of people. And so that's part of the importance of it. So right now, the bed of the 3D printer is auto leveling. Every time you have a 3D print about to start, you want to make sure this is level. Our machine auto calibrates, so what it's going to start doing right now is it's going to start like putting little tiny dots all across the bed to be able to calibrate where it needs to be and make sure that the whole thing is level, so that when you are doing a print that's as large as this and it goes all the way across, that the whole thing will be level and you won't find any dips or anything wrong with it. Alright, so 3D printing is an additive technology. So what you're seeing right now is literally layer by layer by layer, it is adding plastic to continue to build up to the sharp teeth that it will eventually become. This grid that you're seeing is our supports. The supports are not like filled in, which is why it's this really kind of crazy cool grid that is happening. And then those will build up to support all the rest of the teeth and everything else that is going on. All right, thank you for coming to the demo today, and we hope to see you at the Chandler Public Library later this year once we open the bakery.